Let me tell you something about cameras. They are amazing. They inspire you, they make you want to create, but they also create a very dangerous problem. You start thinking that buying a new camera is the same thing as becoming a better filmmaker. And trust me, I know this because I was that person. I would spend hours watching camera reviews, learning about sensors, learning about codecs, learning about dynamic range, and then I will go outside and realize that I still hasn't filmed anything. The funny thing is that I wasn't avoiding filmmaking because I didn't want to do it. I wanted badly. I just convinced myself that I needed something else first. A better camera, a better lens, better equipment, maybe more experience. But eventually I had to ask myself, am I actually preparing to create? Or am I just finding new ways to avoid starting? My relationship with this camera is a little bit different from a lot of reviews you see online. This isn't my 10th camera. This isn't a camera I bought just because I wanted to upgrade. This is my first camera. My first cinema camera, and honestly that makes this camera much more special to me because before this camera I was just someone who loved creating, someone who loved movies, someone who always wondered how people create these things that made you feel something. I didn't come from a filmmaking background. I didn't go to film school. I didn't have years of experience behind a camera. I was simply someone who wanted to learn. And that's why choosing my first camera was such a big decision. Because when you don't have unlimited money, you can just buy anything. Every purchase matters. You have to ask yourself, is this actually going to help me grow? Or am I just buying something because the internet told me I need it? Now let's talk about the camera that I actually wanted. The Sony FX30. And before anyone says anything, yes, I know, the FX3 is amazing. It has a full-frame sensor, better low-light performance, that beautiful cinematic look. If someone gave me an FX3 today, I will not complain. I will probably make a very long video about how happy I am. But the reality was, the FX3 was outside my budget. And I have to be honest with myself. Was I going to spend another year waiting for the perfect camera? Or was I going to buy something that could help me to start today? And that's when I found the FX30. And the more I researched it, the more I realized maybe I didn't need a camera I dreamed about. Maybe I need a camera that matched where I was in my journey. When I first started looking for cameras, I had one big problem. I didn't know exactly what I needed. I knew I wanted something professional. I knew I want something that could grow with me. But I also knew that I wasn't someone who needed a 5,000 setup to film my first video. And honestly, I think this is where a lot of beginners get confused. You see professionals using expensive cameras and we think, if I don't have the camera, my videos won't look professional. But the truth is, the camera is only one part of the equation. The person behind the camera matters more. The reason the FX30 caught my attention was because it felt like a bridge between beginner and professional. It wasn't just a camera that could record video, it was designed around filmmaking. It had features that I could grow into. And that's what I like about it. I didn't want a camera that I could outgrow in a few months. I wanted something that could challenge me, something that could force me to learn. And the FX30 definitely did that. Now, before I bought this camera, I had to understand something. What makes a cinema camera different? Because technically, a lot of cameras can record 4K. So why spend more money on something like the FX30? The answer is not just resolution, it's the workflow. The camera is designed around video. The menus, the recording options, the way you control the image, the way you think about your shots, everything pushes you to think more like a filmmaker. And that's was something I didn't expect. I thought buying a cinema camera will just improve my image, but it actually changed the way that I approach filmmaking. I started thinking more about composition, lighting, movement, storytelling. The camera wasn't just recording what I saw, it was teaching me how to see. Now, does that mean everybody needs a cinema camera? No, absolutely not. If you're making videos with your phone and telling good stories, you're already doing more filmmaking than someone with a 10,000 cameras setting on the shelf. But because at the end of the day, nobody cares about your camera. They care about your story. I still remember opening the box, and I think every creator knows this feeling. The moment where you finally buy the thing you've been thinking about for months, you feel excited, you feel proud, and then 5 minutes later, you realize you have absolutely no idea what you're doing. That was me. I turned on the camera, I looked at the settings, and I thought, okay, where do I even start? And honestly, that was probably the best thing that could have happened, because the FX30 didn't make things easy. It made me learn. The first time I looked at the FX30 outside, I had this feeling. Okay, I finally have the camera, now I have to make something amazing. And then reality happened. Because having a cinema camera does not automatically give you cinematic shots. I wish it worked like that. I wish it worked that way. Imagine if there was a button. Press here to become a filmmaker. That would be amazing, right? But unfortunately, Sony forgot to include that button. The funny thing is, I actually think this was a good thing, because it forced me to learn. I couldn't blame the camera anymore if the shot looked bad. It was probably because I did something wrong. Before owning this camera, I thought better equipment will remove my problems. But the FX30 showed me something different. Better equipment doesn't remove the learning process, it reveals it. One of the first things everybody tells you when you're buying a cinema camera is use S-Log3. Apparently that's what professionals use. So I thought, okay, professional filmmakers use this, I should use it. I turn it on, I record my first clip, and then I watch it back. Did I just break the camera? The image looked terrible. Flat, gray, no contrast. I remember thinking, why does everybody want this? But then I learned something important. S-Log3 isn't supposed to look good straight off the camera. It designs to give you more flexibility when editing. That was another moment when I realized the camera wasn't just something I bought, it was something I had to learn, and I have to understand exposure, I have to understand color, lighting, post-production, and honestly, that's where the fun started. I think one of my favorite parts about the FX30 has been the learning process. Because every time I improve something, I can see the difference. The first video I made, they weren't perfect. My composition wasn't perfect. My colors weren't perfect. My lighting wasn't perfect. But then we'll make another video and another one, and slowly I start noticing small improvements. And that's probably the biggest lesson this camera has given me. Process doesn't happen because you buy better equipment. Process happen because you use the equipment you have. Make mistakes and keep creating. The FX30 didn't magically improve my filmmaking. It gave me the motivation to practice, and practice is what actually improved my filmmaking. After spending time with the FX30, I can honestly say I understand why people love this camera. Because it gives you a lot without making you feel like you need to spend a fortune. One of my favorite things about this camera is how much room it gives you to grow. You can start simple, you can learn the basics, but when you start understanding filmmaking, the camera is still capable of giving you professional results. The first thing I appreciate is the image quality. Shooting in 10-bit gives me a lot more flexibility when editing. It's allowed me to experiment, to fix mistakes, to create different looks, and for someone learning cinematography, having the flexibility is huge. Another thing I love is that this camera makes me want to film, and I know that sounds weird, because technically a camera is just a tool, but the experience matters. When you enjoy using something, you create more. And the more you create, the better you become. Now, obviously, the FX30 is not the perfect camera. And I think it's important to talk about that. Because sometimes camera reviews make it sound like every camera is perfect, and that's not just reality. The biggest compromise with the FX30 is the sensor. It's APS-C, not full frame. And if you compare it directly with the FX3 has advantages. Better low light performance, more deep in field control, the full frame look, and I think it's important to be honest about that. But the question is not, is the FX3 better? Of course it is. The real question is, does the FX30 give you enough to create amazing work? And the answer is absolutely. Another thing you need to understand is that this is not the beginner point and shoot camera. And I actually like that because it forced me to learn, and it's gonna force you to learn too. But if you want something where you just press record and everything looks perfect, this might not be the camera for you. So after everything, will I still buy the FX30? Yes, absolutely. Will I still like to own the FX3 someday? Of course. I think every filmmaker has the camera they dream about. But I don't regret choosing the FX30 because the FX3 will have give me a better camera, but the FX30 gave me something I needed more, a starting point. Sometimes we think that things stopping us is what we don't have. The better camera, the better computer, the better setup, but sometimes the only thing missing is simply starting. Looking back, I realized something. The FX30 didn't make me a filmmaker. It didn't teach me the storytelling. It didn't teach me creativity. It didn't replace practice. I had to do that. The camera simply gave me a reason to begin. And maybe that's the biggest lesson I learned. Don't wait until everything is perfect, because perfect conditions don't exist. At some point, you have to pick up a camera, you have to create something, you have to learn. And maybe the first thing you make won't be amazing, mine wasn't, and that's okay, because every filmmaker you admire, every creator you look up to, They all started somewhere. If you're also starting your filmmaking journey, wherever you're using a cinema camera, a normal camera, or even your phone, I hope you'll join me. Because this channel is not about having the most expensive gear, it's about learning, creating, making mistakes, and improving. I want to document this entire journey from this first cinema camera to whatever filmmaking takes me. So if you want to be part of this journey, subscribe and let me know in the comments what camera started your filmmaking journey. See you on the next one.